Hello, it's just Rachel here, and today's topic is why are the general elections in Liberia so tense? And today you get to see my notes and be in my notes with me. So I've noticed that elections are marked by suspense and anxiety, right? That's the attitudes when you have these things going on from different nation states, or four different nation states, sorry. But here I noticed that the dominant attitude in the atmosphere is tension. Like you feel the tension, nobody can tell you, people don't have to see it, and it's there. And this is the first general election I was eligible to vote in, right? So I need you to tell me in the comment section, has it always been this way? If you voted before, if this is your second, third, or fourth time voting, right? Has it always been this way for your own experience now, from your own point of view? What's different? What has changed? Let me hear your own thoughts in the comments. And the why I'm presenting is linked with Liberia's own history through turnovers and things like that. Like I said, or I've been saying in the intro, I studied history and international relations, and I feel like I'm about to eat.
I am from a place where the Atlantic Ocean meets the tropical rainforests. A land where the peak of the Wulagisi kisses the sky. This land is filled with dreamers, where everyone is a hustler hoping to resurrect. Me, I'm Rachel Adeline, a student of history and international relations, and this is a journey to display my Liberianness. On this journey, you can call me just Rachel. Come along as we walk through the experiences and opinions of a young Liberian lady. I hope you have fun on this journey as much as I do.
To play with elections in Liberia, right? For one, we have corruption. We have our own history with that. I don't know if you're aware, but we won the Guinness World Record for most corrupt election in the entire world in 1927 election, our 1927 general election. So there's always, I don't think it's from 1927, but then even as old as we are now, right? We still feel like the process, we don't trust our democratic process. Yeah, simply put, there might be fraudulent acts, it will not be the proper due diligence and all of that, right? And the next factor or thing I think influence it is the population. Liberia is relatively small. Liberia is a small country. We don't have many people here. It's estimated that the amount of people staying here are 5.1 million people. And from the 5.1 million people, have about 2.4 million people that are eligible to vote. And with the amount of people that are eligible to vote brings me to the second issue that I think plays part with the elections is the illiteracy rate, right? We have 5.1 small, and then 2.4 allowed to vote. With the 2.4, there are a lot of people who are eligible to vote or exercise that right, but they don't understand, they're not informed, they don't make informed decision. It's not like the choice they're making is the decision, that they don't know how to go through the proper channels. According to NEC, the recently ended October 11, 2023 general election, we had about 114,000 invalid votes. Yeah. So imagine when not so many, and then with less, not less people, but then with the amount of people we have over 100,000 people having invalid votes. And then it affects the results too. And the last one I want to mention is tribalism, right? You have certain people that believe that their tribe should be in control, or they'll support this person because we're of the same tribe, because you're my tribesman. Support them blindly, whether they have good intent for the country or not. It's like, oh, Apele, my Apele brother running, and all of us from Bong have to support him. It's like that. Things like that come into play in relations to the way or the skills. Yeah, tipping the skills. That's the right way to put it. Yeah. So you have corruption. Everybody questioning the democratic process, and then you have the population. We're not many, and then we're not many, and then we're not. A lot of us, or a a lot of people that are eligible to vote are not educated, and then with that you have tribalism. Somebody will support this person because they're from the same tribe, whether a person do good, bad, or ugly. It's like, you're my tribesman, so I'm voting you. I see you as someone who can do no wrong, right? And looking at all of those things, you if you have the most populated region, right, in your favor, you're most likely to win, because then they see you as the tribesman. That's like tribalism in play or in effect. Instead of viewing it as the best candidate, people see tribesmen, for instance. That's tribalism, clearly. And all those different things aside, right? All those different things that are listed aside, that we have our own tumultuous history of turnover of power, right? And then I'll run you through that so that you can see how these things play a part, and how we are what we are, why I think we are what we are with the tense atmosphere, right? I'm so nervous talking about this, like talking about history, even though I said I feel like I'm about to eat. I don't know why. I feel like I'm shaking, because these things are really things that are above me in a way. Or for a long time, people around me have told me, Rasha, you smart girl. Rasha, you smart girl. You shouldn't be talking about these things. Or you shouldn't be curious to know these things, because I've always wanted to know what happened, even though I never experienced. But right now that I'm in this field of study, I have learned a lot to know, or to feel like I was there even, right? I've completed 2 courses on Liberian history particularly. So I have a lot of details as to what has happened. Yeah. But then it's still, because I don't know, I cannot control who else sees this, who all will interact with this video, and then it's like that for now. So back to the video. All the different aside, and then I feel like overall it's as if all of us now have PTSD from what we've heard, learned from school, and all of that, because Rachel here, for instance, right, did not experience any of these turnover events that were troublesome or tumultuous, as I referred to earlier. But I still noticed or felt the tension in this election, yeah. And I know I'm not alone. A lot of people born around or during the time I was born felt the same way, monitoring the results and things like that. So to break it all down, right? I'm sweating massively. So there are a lot of different turnover events that were not so calm or chaotic in a way, right? That caused, that I believe, caused the tension that we now have, resulting around this time, right? And I'll break it all down for you, right? The first one that I'm starting with is the one that I think is the first one, not like the first one I'm starting with. The one I believe is the first one, right? Is the 1980 coup. So let me write it down so that I can keep track of it, because the 1980 coup, right, led by Master Sergeant Samuel Doe. During the coup ended the First Republic, which then ended the life of then President William R. Tolbert. After the coup happened, it wasn't so peaceful or hip hip hooray, we have gotten rid of a corrupt leader, right? After the coup, the army people then were questioning a lot of other people, like, were you affiliated with this government? And in that light, 13 of Tober administrators were executed for corruption and acts like that, right? So they're questioning people, were you affiliated with this government and things like that. So that's the first time a transition got relatives, yeah. And then after that, you have the government was led by the military court or the army personnel for about 5 years. And then in 1985, it was turned to civilian rule. So let me read in 1985 back so I don't mix the year up along the way. 1985, it was turned over to civilian rule, and these civilians planned or organized the commissions and all of those things, had the general election. And after Doe, who was the master sergeant that led after the coup, who was controlling the country after the coup, turned down his title to contest in a general election, and Doe was victorious. He won the 1985 general election. After Doe was announced winner of the general election, he there was a field coup by his um, his fellow army man, Kuyongba, and the field coup was the same year, 1985. But the coup was not successful though. That's why it's a field coup. Though wasn't killed in the process. So when he was inaugurated as president in January 1986, there were a lot of questioning again. So the first one was Tolbert being assassinated, and then you're questioning Tolbert administration, all of that. And then when Doe was supposed to be president, there was a field coup before him officially being president, right? And because of the field coup, he started questioning all those that planned the coup. Were you happy that coup was coming towards your president? You know, things like that. They questioned everybody, and then during the entire questioning thing and his presidency, there was the Nima raid, and like it's called, it's not something that was I don't know, joyous or worth celebrating. It was a terrible time, right? But because of all these different affairs, no, all of these chaotic things, right? Things that are not so peaceful and all of that. His reign was short lived. By December 24th, 1989, the first Liberian civil war started through Nima. And they came over. It was different warrior factions. It was MPFL, IMPFL, Ulimo J, Ulimo K, all of these different people. So they started coming. The first one was IMPFL, started coming from Nima. Remember the Nima raid? So it's believed that because of the raid, the people from Nima were okay with allowing the rebels coming because they were like fighting for their cause or for their they're fighting for a cause that they see or relate to, right? So they after the enter Liberia 1989, then President Doe was killed 1990. Was the second president that was killed. And when Doe was killed, there was this period of war. First civil war, straight 7 years from 1989 up to 1995. Yeah. In the 1995, so during that time, ECOWAS was calling for meetings, different meetings, so that they can settle what's happening and having. They had different interim governments that were short-lived because they were not able to maintain the peace. But then there was negotiation like that happening, wanting governments to come in place to maintain peace and have general elections so that we can move forward as a nation. But it was not till 1995 that Liberia was able to successfully have a general election. From the last one was 85 and then 95, like 10 years before the other election. And when that election happened, Charles Taylor, who was the leader of another warring faction, won. He became president. And it was still very tense because, like I said, he was a leader of a warring faction. Even though he had his own good graces that I was saying about him, but then it's like someone leading with a gun in the arm, right? So it's like that. It was like that. It was a very tense atmosphere, and he won by a very large margin. And after the 1995 election, when Taylor became president, another war broke out because other people felt like it wasn't fair that a war faction leader, I don't want to say warlord, war faction leader would be president of a country, and there are a lot of different fights and disagreements or disenchantments, right? So that led to the Second World War that started 1999. So Chancellor became he was elected president 95, inaugurated 96, 1999 another war broke out. That was Liberia's second civil war, and all these different governments and turnover in power that were coming into play. You notice that people were dissatisfied or not pleased with what was happening and resorted to that war, right? And then it was chaotic. It was just one unpleasant government to another, right? From Taylor being accused of corruption, and then Doe coming and questioning Taylor's authority and all those that work with Taylor, and then his um I don't say fellow army personnel going back questioning him or trying to take over in that field. Now he was questioning everybody with Kuyomba, he tribesmen, all of that. And I think the whole tribalism reaches peaked during Dole administration because there was the Nima raid, because Kuyamba was from Nima. They went to Nima, particularly targeting people from there, people, children, babies, everybody from there, right? And then from the Nima, from Dole's turn, you have Taylor and other people that are fighting for the cause of the disenchanted Liberians. And then now, when you have the turn of power, I was a baby. I don't want to say wasn't so present. I was a baby for the 2000, and I think it was 2006 or 7 general election. So I don't know what happened there, and I haven't gone back because it was peaceful as compared to the ones that I just listed, right? Because you have the Unreal, you have Ecomon, you had different international international and national bodies there present, representing, watching the process, making sure that it's peaceful and it's calm and there's no chaos and all of those things, right? And one thing I learned about this election, right, it was the first one without these people after they stayed for about 3 different election years. So after the war, it was the 2007, yeah, 2007, 2012, and 2017. They were there for all of these elections. But this election, they were like, oh, Liberia's good now. They can do it by themselves and all of that. So now it's like you don't have a lot of people here, right? And a lot of people, like I said, feels like we're all suffering from our fair share of PTSD. So a lot of things could break up. Something will happen, and people, it's just there. It's just there. A lot of people say, a lot of people don't, but then because it's there, like in the air, in the atmosphere, it's just this tension that we have around us with what could possibly go wrong now. There is something that could go wrong. Who will start it? And then with all that people are aware of, including the international communities and our foreign counterparts, as in other countries that we have good relations with, right? Because they are aware of all of these things, they make their own, not suggestions. Yeah, they give suggestions, right? Like you should have your house filled with food, you should make sure families stay together, things, suggestions like that. And they also inform other people that are thinking of terrible things, like if this happens as a nation, we'll take this step, things like that. They tell Liberia, like, oh, if this happens because of our relationship with you, we might do this, or this will be our approach, and things like that, so that people are aware of what it will cost if, God forbid, something terrible happened. But that still doesn't eliminate the atmosphere or how we feel and how everything is here. And why I think it's like this is because of the occurrences that I just listed for one, right? All these turnovers were marked by tension, right? And then because of that, people fear that another turnover, or it might be along the line, one of these turnover might start this again, right? And you notice that the first one, right, which was over, it was a 5-year thing with Do, and after Do, the second war broke out, it went to 7 years, right? So it's like just a simple turnover could last to 5, 10, or maybe more than that year of a country being unstable in a way or in a lot of different ways. So it's a scary thing to think, and knowing that you're living in a place that you cannot control the outcome of that situation, but you live in a place that you cannot really leave from because of different financial or other issues, right? You cannot move entirely. It's like that. But then all around the world, people are praying for us Liberians in the diaspora and Liberians here. We're all hoping for the absolute best. And like I said, before this video is out, everything will be cleared out. We'll know our very next president, and hopefully it'll be a peaceful process. And I think I said this initially, but I don't know if it's because this is the first time I'm eligible to vote. I feel the tension now more than ever. 2017, I felt it was there, but I wasn't paying attention to it as much as I'm paying attention. And another thing I've noticed is that a lot of Liberians are afraid of wars. It's the PTSD, right? Some people experience it and they're scared. Some people are very little, they remember gunshots and maybe certain marks on their bodies because of particular incidents. And other people like myself did not experience it. We've heard stories, very terrible ones, that we don't want it to be repeated. But in as much as a lot of us are in a way afraid of something terrible happening, there are still some people that openly make a lot of terrible remarks and statements and things like that, regardless of where they are, who will interact with it, and how the person may approach the situation, and then that overall increase the fear in the country and tension. Yeah, because some people say if this election, they make threats to the election commission or to other political parties competing, right? If this election is fraudulent, if corruption act, if it's marked by corruption, this, that, and the other will take place. People will protest, and mind you, the whole rest, the Tolbert death, right? It's marked by the rest riot. A year before he was killed, they had the rest riot, and then rest riot people died, and then after that, a year after, Tolbert died, and then Dole came in. All like that's like the beginning. So if you talk about protest again, people get scared because it's, these things, what they start, the last time a big protest happened where people died, this is what happened and things like that. Even though in other developed countries, developed nations, these are ways that the civilians cry for help or say they want help. But here, for us, because of the patterns that we have lived through or seen and heard from our history books, it's scary to want to protest for one, and it feels like the only voice you will have or might have is voting. And then again, come to think of voting, it may be played with or it may not be fair as you hope. So a lot of things are there, a lot of different, like I listed, the influence first and then the patterns that we live with. Those are the reasons why I feel like the elections or the atmosphere in the elections are so tense. But don't forget to let me know what you think too and what you've witnessed with the electoral process or processes, and how what's your take on this video as well. Yeah. And thank you for watching if you made it this far.